Bowl Sunday. If you're anything like me, you like to be surrounded by a snack or two while watching the big game. You know, when buying snacks for the game, you might have noticed one thing. Sports drinks bottles are smaller. A bag of chips has fewer chips, but they're still charging you just as much. And as an ice cream lover, what makes me the most angry is that ice cream cartons have actually shrunk in size, but not in price. I've had enough of what they call shrinkflation. It's a ripoff. Some companies are trying to pull a fast one by shrinking the products little by little and hoping you won't notice. Give me a break. The American public is tired of being played for suckers. I'm calling on companies to put a stop to this. Let's make sure businesses do the right thing now.
So recently, instead of addressing anything, instead of talking about anything that we care about, talking about how he could better the economy, talking about how he could better the country, talking about why we should vote for him in the future, in the next upcoming election of literally this past year, 2024 election, where most are polling for Trump. And for the other candidates like Nikki Haley, it's quite embarrassing that she literally got beat by none of the above candidates because nobody likes who they are voting for. Instead of doing anything that will keep him in power, which is weird because it's in his own interest to do so, he won't even do it when it's in his own interest. That's how little he has to offer. He decided to rant about how... Actually, this is kind of him trying to turn the tides on his favor, but we all see through it. He said shrinkflation and items shrinking, and he's blaming companies for shrinking their items because they had to shrink their items because he caused record inflation, and he's blaming his own presidential consequences of his decisions on the companies, not even on him, on the companies that were forced to do this because of his terrible presidency. So let's get into it. That's absolutely and utterly ridiculous because you caused this. Joe Biden literally caused record-inducing inflation literally since the Great Depression, I believe, and now he's going to blame it on companies who have to shrink their size and says, this is disgusting, I want to watch my Super Bowl with more ice cream and chocolate. Like, dude, you caused the inflation, so take responsibility. Like, Joe Biden couldn't take responsibility to save his life, okay? Responsibility is his kryptonite, except he'll never be as good as Superman. If he was a Superman, though, taking responsibility would be his kryptonite, but I think Superman takes a lot of that, so he could never be Superman because he could never even be a president. How are you going to save the world if you can't even save a country or even save a city? The record-inducing inflation, the gas prices, and the unemployment has skyrocketed us downhill, though. Not up, skyrocket, no, sky downed us into a terrible state, and the economy has only gotten worse. So if anything, this is your fault, and why are you blaming it on innocent companies? This is exactly why nobody's voting for Joe Biden, because he tries to twist it on companies for something that his presidency did. And accountability is something that he does not take lightly, if at all, because he is blaming the companies. Yet again, I phrase, he's blaming companies for something he did. Instead of taking accountability like he has lacked these past 4 years, instead of fixing any of the issues, instead of at least addressing some of the issues, he decides to blame it on somebody else. Like when his like a year into his presidency, when things were going terrible and we were pointing out what the things that happened, what might happen, he was saying Trump's fault, he gave it to me, even though Trump had a better economy. He literally blames everything. I think even 2 years in, he's blaming everything on Trump, and then he went to his vacation house when somebody would ask him a semi-hard, barely hard 1% of what they gave Trump question, or any other politicians, to be honest, even the other Democrats, and he would run away to his vacation house and just like get all of the accountability and shrug it off to everybody else and blame his enemies. Oh, blame the companies, blame the poor, not poor companies because they're mega corporations owned by huge corporations, but he nevertheless, they don't deserve the same accountability that isn't even theirs. They're getting the blame of Joe Biden's terrible presidency onto them just because he cannot take accountability of his own actions. So yeah, it's just stupid. I just want to talk about how he did this terrible ad instead of addressing problems and actually promoting more obesity, promoting more fat acceptance, more bad terrible health, and decided to also blame the fact that we're, oh, poor America, we have to eat less, but also the fact that the only reason we have to eat less is because Joe Biden, has caused record-inducing inflations, and the companies were forced into this. Okay? Like, that, that's pretty much it. Like, if we let him in for another 4 years, within 5 months, we're going to have Europe's size of serving food, which would be a good thing for our health, but it would just show how bad of a president he is, because he'll still push more processed food, and he'll still, like, give terrible gas prices, and he'll still, like, cause our economy to go downhill after that point. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to point out how Joe Biden is an absolute hypocrite and how he pushes the blame onto other people for his own doing. I just think it's stupid, and nobody's voting for this clown.